Bear Brief, 24 October 22. Ports are less congested and shipping costs have fallen about 80%, according to Flexport founder Ryan Peterson. Normal spending is also returning as the population readjusts to post-pandemic living, increasing their spending on dining and travel. While this is great news right now, it is important for companies and small businesses alike to assimilate the lessons learned from the difficulty experienced over the last few years to improve their resiliency. Resiliency. We've talked about this. Refuge. Newsflash, I'm the founder and CEO of Refuge Medical. Just-in-time logistics have gone out the window. Now it's just-in-case logistics. So if you are a small business owner, and I know many of you all are, just like we stack food, water, shelter, commo, security, medical, etc. for our personal lives, if you carry an inventory, and I know it's tough right now because the margins suck, because labor costs are up and energy costs are up and materials costs are up, all of the inputs are up. If you can, I would encourage you to stack raw materials, stack commodities. As far as the outlook on the economy is concerned, tech companies are shedding workers in anticipation of a coming recession. The year-long downturn has spelled a job loss for at least 44,000 tech workers. Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon anticipates a recession due to inflation and federal rate hikes, saying, quote, "I think you have to expect that there's more volatility on the horizon. Now, that doesn't mean for sure that we have a really difficult economic scenario, but on the distribution of outcomes, there's a good chance that we have a recession in the United States." Amazon founder Jeff Bezos recently commented on Twitter that, quote, "The probabilities in this economy tell you to batten down the hatches," end quote. So technically, we're in a recession. We've had 2 quarters of negative GDP, very likely to have a third, while inflation is gently downturning from 8.5 to 8.4 to 8.3% month over month. It's still not great. And the Fed is in this position where they need to be really careful about how they manage this particular potential recession. I believe that we are going to have a recession. I also want to make it absolutely clear that I think it's entirely possible to weather this coming storm. How bad is it going to be? I don't know. Is it going to be riots in the streets and civil unrest and mano a mano, neighbor against neighbor fighting for food? Dear God, I hope not. But it could and very likely will be less comfortable than it has been. And as discussed previously, I think there's a certain amount of karma, if you will. There's a debt that needs to be paid at this point, literal and figurative, for Americans who have had it so good for so long that not all of us, but many of us have come to take for granted the fact that we live in the most special country on the face of the earth. Does it have its problems? Oh, hell yeah, it has its problems. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. That being said, there's not another nation on the face of the earth from the dawn of time that has provided more upwards economic mobility than the United States of America. And at the end of the day, we all really want the same things. We want to be able to feed and clothe our families and protect them and provide for them and give them more economic opportunity than we had when we grew up. And this is still, for better or worse, the best place on the face of the earth to be able to do that. And so a mindset shift here for all of us, at least for me, and I would hope that you'd come along for the journey with this, is I want to incorporate more positivity into what we're doing, talk more about how we weather this storm and how we actually win in SHTF. And I've made the argument before, and I'll make it again, that we are actually there. The shit has hit the fan. It's just gone so slowly at this point that many people have been lulled to sleep. There is an upside to this. If we can endure, we will be better off than we are now. I believe that. I believe it's entirely possible that if we endure and we play our cards right, we will be better off now than we were when we went into this. More and more people are waking up. More and more people are being red-pilled, if you will. More and more people are becoming fiscally and constitutionally conservative. More and more people are pro-freedom, especially with everything that we've seen that has been happening in the post-COVID age. People are anti-tyranny, and that's a good thing. Now, that doesn't mean that the tyrants aren't going to lash out in their death throes, but it does mean that if there's a critical mass of citizens of the United States of America who have simply resolved that no more horseshit, we will not stand for it, we will not take it, that means that if we weather this storm going forward, things can be better than they were. I mean, like, better than 2019, better than 2018. That thing that people called freedom even a few years ago will pale in comparison to the thing that we could have if we weather this storm. And that's the direction I want to push. I have more preps than I need. This is a fact. I'm prepared. I'm prepped. So now I'm looking at preps as, what else can I do to weather this storm? How do I weather this storm with our businesses, with our ministries, with our faith group, with our family? How do I take care of these people and these entities, these living, breathing organisms that are business and ministry? How do I steward these things and the people that I love that are wrapped up in them? How do I steward them through whatever comes next? Because I'm good. My position of strength is secured. I'm good. Now, what about everybody else? And I'm including you, dear listener, in that statement. What about everybody else? What can we actually do going forward besides putting beans in buckets and stacking bullets and band-aids? That's what I want to focus on more and more at this channel, and I hope that you'd come along with me for the ride. Back to the brief. For small businesses, the picture appears to be slightly different. Small businesses are actually struggling to hire, while larger companies are slowing their hiring. Part of this is the need to provide higher pay to mitigate inflation, which is a struggle for small operations. For small businesses, this may ultimately mean reducing hours or even closing for entire days to cope with staffing shortages. Labor in a small business is key. Your business is your people. Businesses exist not to generate revenue, they exist to solve problems. And the more good people you have within your organization that can help you solve problems, the more business you will do. And so what you might look at if straight up revenue is an issue, you simply don't have the money to offer a higher wage, what can you do for quality of life inside of the business? Flexible hours, can you provide that? Because that might be more important to a working mother, flexible hours, than the totality of her paycheck at the end of the week. Not that the totality of the paycheck isn't important, but it could open up an opportunity for her to work for you if your hours are flexible. Or even, working fathers as well, right? Anybody who has kids, that flexibility might be a contributing factor as to whether or not they join your organization. Culture is huge. What is the culture of your organization? Are you a bunch of winners who are out there killing it, making stuff happen every day and trying to make people within the organization better? Is there good leadership there? Are you building up the subordinate leaders on your teams? Are you making moves? Is there upward mobility within your organization? Those are all contributing factors as well, beyond just the totality of a paycheck. So things to consider. Culture is incredibly important. Leadership is incredibly important. Flexibility is incredibly important to small businesses. And it's the one thing that small businesses have above these large mega corporations. It's flexibility. They're small and maneuverable. You're adaptable because you're smaller. You can turn on a dime. You can make decisions in a moment rather than having a several levers of entrenched managerial bureaucracy. So look at what you can offer aside from paychecks only. Paychecks are important. They are the number one contributing factor, honestly. But all these other ancillary, tertiary considerations play into that decision making as well as far as hiring is concerned. It would also be a good idea to audit the people you already have. Are they actually performing? Because I guarantee you, most of us have people on their teams that aren't truly performing. And it doesn't mean day one you go in there with a knife and you slash them out of your annual budget. But you build those people up so that they do perform, because when they win, the company wins. And most people don't understand that the company is its own organism. The company simply does not exist for employees and for the leadership to extract capital out of. It is its own organism. It's a living, breathing thing, and if you don't take care of it, it won't take care of you. And so the more leaders, the more winners you can build within your organization, the better health the organization will have. Therefore, the more it will be able to take care of somebody. And so you might be able to bring somebody on board with the promise of within 90 days, within 180 days, we're going to revisit what your pay looks like based upon your performance, because I need killers in this organization and I think you're a killer. Back to the brief. To add to this, Small Business Administration loans may rise above 9% by the end of the year if rates continue to rise in response to inflation. For small business operating amid high inflation, profits may not be able to adequately cover such high interest loans. Rates have not been this high since the 90s. Rohit Arora, Biz2 Credit co-founder, said, quote, "Most of the new business owners today, because they have lived in such a low rate environment, while they have floating interest rate loans, they didn't even realize that on existing loans it could go up. Everyone expected, with gas prices coming down to what I would call pre-high inflation levels, that things looked a lot better. Now people are realizing that oil prices don't solve the problem, and that's new for lots of business owners who thought inflation would taper off and the Fed would not be so hawkish." End quote. Another thing that I think is going to happen here with businesses, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, even large businesses, who have been overextended, over-leveraged, who are dependent upon a debt cycle in order to be able to operate. And we've talked about this at length in other broadcasts. Those companies, those organizations are not going to be able to weather the storm if the revenue's not there, if the velocity of money continues to decrease, if they can't service their debt load with their revenue, with their sales, they simply won't be able to stay in business. So it's incredibly important as an individual and as a business that you're not heavily leveraged. I understand that's a lot of work, but if we talk about making this country good again so that it can be great again from the grassroots up, we have to understand that debt is slavery. Debt is slavery. The rich rule over the poor, and a borrower is slave to the lender. It's in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. Proverbs 22:7, I believe. This is real. And so do not be heavily leveraged. Don't be leveraged at all if you can. And if you're in debt, work as hard as you can to get out of debt. Dave Ramsey, love him or hate him, has some very effective baby steps that I personally have followed. We got out of debt before we moved from Texas to Oklahoma. We bought our home with cash. All of our vehicles are older vehicles that are completely paid for. We have money in savings for the children. We have an emergency fund. We're able to live and give now. Why can I do Grindstone Ministries? Well, it's in large part because of y'all, because you support us in what we do. But understand, for the first year, 18 months of our existence, Grindstone was solely funded out of my wallet. And that's not a flex, that's not a brag, it's just a fact. And if there wasn't money in my wallet, we wouldn't have been in a position to do the things that we did, to go and bless other people, to live and give. And I'm not rich, make no mistake, I'm not rich, but I'm not poor either. There's nobody ruling over me because I am not wrapped up in that debt cycle. And I would strongly encourage you, if you are, to get out of it. I get the question all the time, what's more important? Should I prep now? Should I burn up my credit cards with debt now so that I can prep, or should I get out of debt? The long-term sustainable answer is get out of debt, because we may never need our preps. God help us if we do need our preps, but you will need all that revenue that you're currently spending to service a debt load. You will need to be financially independent as well at some point, whether we're talking an individual or a business. That is a position of strength, literally, because the rich rule over the poor and a borrower is slave to the lender. So if you don't feel like being somebody's slave, you should murder your debt. See, when you do that, these rising rates for loans don't matter to you. It doesn't affect you. Doesn't mean that inflation doesn't affect you, because it does, but there's one less element. These interest rates for these loans, They don't bother you now because you don't have loans. You're not overextended. That's the brief for today. I appreciate y'all. I hope that you will continue to stick around. I'm always interested in your comments, encouraged by your comments, your productive comments. I want us all to do better. I want us all to take this seriously and begin the process of looking long-term strategically. I don't think it's within the realm of possibility now to make America great again. But I do think it's within the realm of possibility to begin the process of making America good again, so that we can be great again. I live here too. My children will live here when I'm dead. And I do want this country to be better than it was when I leave the face of this earth. And I get just as frustrated, if not more, as y'all do, when I look around and I see the rampant political corruption and I see ideology driving law and edict and credo in this country, and I see the corruption and the perversion of righteousness in this country. It pisses me off. But I have to come back to, what can I do about it? Well, I can be as strong as possible where I am, and I'm doing that. And I can speak to y'all and encourage and motivate y'all, and hopefully I'm doing that as well. RefugeMedical.com. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. Shout out to Prep Medic, who just dropped a video on the Bearfact 3.0. Gave it a very good review, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. This is the SOB, the small of the back kit. It's about that big. Bear, you have such big hands. Why, yes, I do. Called Bear. This thing weighs as much as one loaded AR magazine. Yes, I know the lighting's terrible. Please bear with me. It's early in the morning, and I have a very tight timeline today. I have a soft T tourniquet on the outside here. Committee on TCCC recommended windlass tourniquet. This has a metal windlass, so if you're one of those people who's like, yeah, I don't trust the plastic, I need a metal windlass, the soft T has a metal windlass. Obviously, this is in red with reflective, but it comes in coyote and OD green and multicam and black and all, and red with reflective. Molle compatible, will interface with your PALS webbing or with your duty belt or with your gun belt or with some bungee straps on the back of your headrest or anywhere else you'd like to put it. It's pretty thin, it's pretty compact. The nylon on the outside gives you your portability and your durability. Inside, you'll find this little pouch right here, red handle. Pull this out. The inner pouch gives you your capability, okay? And as you can see, proudly made in the United States of America by Americans. These are hand sewn, guaranteed forever. If you break this, I will replace it at no cost to you. If you use the contents of this kit to save a life, I will replace them at no cost to you. Pop this open. We've got a very compact kit in here. We've got a Sharpie. We've got combat gauze right here. Quick Clot combat gauze. This is for wound packing in your junctional areas. That's a hemostatic agent. We've got a North American Rescue 4-inch fold flat mini responder emergency trauma dressing. These are excellent. I've got compressed gauze here for wound packing for massive bleeding in junctional areas. I've got a nasopharyngeal airway with the Surgilube firmly attached. Nose noodle, NPA, nose trumpet. I have some BZK wipes right here. I have some fold flat duct tape as well because it sticks to everything, including blood, sweat, and tears. And I've got 2 Halo chest seals. This is a twin pack, one vented and one non-vented chest seal. And that is the contents of this kit, the SOB. It is perfect for a gun belt, a war belt, a plate carrier, chest rig, a headrest, a minivan, a Black Hawk, a school bus, everything you need to deal with massive bleeding, airway, and respiratory per the March algorithm. Your promo code on that is Bear Nation for free shipping, which in today's day and age is not nothing. There are a handful of slots left for refuge training in Dallas, Texas and Waco, Texas. If you do not understand the criticality of the fine art of how to not die, strongly recommend you go check out refugetraining.com. Come to class, learn to be the hero. And Grindstone Ministries. There are myriad ongoing operations with Grindstone Ministries, including recovery efforts for Hurricane Ian in Florida, remediating a flooded house for a Gold Star mother and an Army vet. You will be seeing more content on that here in the near future. Additionally, Caleb House. There's ongoing construction at the Caleb House property, which is a restoration facility for juvenile human trafficking survivors. This means kids that were passed around like product by assholes so that they could be serially raped daily. Well, we rescue and restore those people. So huge shout out to all the people, boots on the ground, who help us do that. And huge shout out to everybody who's been supporting our mission at Grindstone and Caleb House to break generational curses and to forsake not the widow and the orphan. We could not do it without you. If you'd like to plug in to assist, you can please visit grindstoneministries.com. I pray you all have a blessed day. Shalom.